Okay, we're going to change top smooth roller. This is a Kansai special 1404P. We're going to change top smooth rubber roller to a nylon corrugated roller. The nylon corrugated roller would be used for your elastic waistbands, shorts, sweatpants, boxer shorts. Okay, so we're going to show how to change the top roller. Okay, we'll remove it first. We'll take off the pressure screw and spring. That gives it some pressure. And then 4 millimeter Allen wrench. Oh, pretty tight. Okay, and we're going to remove the puller, the link here, from the drive lever. 8 millimeter open end. We're just going to take the link off the drive lever here. If you can't get your fingers in there, you could always loosen the drive lever and get it completely out of the way. And we'll just take that for now. Okay, we removed the link from the drive lever and we'll just put it back in here for now. Okay, and then we loosen our bolt here, the 4 millimeter bolt. Holds it to the shaft. That's your puller shaft. 4 millimeter bolt. And you see the shaft will come out, right out. However, we'll have to loosen this one also. Because the shaft, we got to get it a little higher. So, and this bolt here is on a flat spot. The shaft has a flat spot. That bolt is on a flat spot, and now we're up high enough, and we slide the puller right out. Okay. At this point now, we're going to change this rubber roller to the nylon corrugated roller. And you're going to need the puller, the roller itself. You're going to need the sleeve that goes inside. You're going to need 2 bearings, 1 on each end, and 3 screws. Okay, now we'll remove this. First, we'll remove this one. First, you have to take off the snap ring. Snap ring on the end. We'll pop that snap ring off. Be careful not to lose it. Alright, we pop the snap ring off. Okay, we have to take out the screw.
Have to lose this fast.
We have to loosen this screw and this screw to remove that screw there, which keeps your roller when you set it. You don't want the roller pinned up against your casting. So that screw will keep it off the casting a little bit. That's where it should be tightened. Okay, so you loosen these screws. You have to loosen, there's 2 screws holding that screw there. You loosen them both. And you take that screw out. Okay. And then the shaft slides right out. The shaft slides right out. Okay. Now, the drive arm on this side comes right out. And the other side comes right out. Now, this is your smooth roller. The smooth roller is fixed to the sleeve automatically. There's no screws holding it to the sleeve. So the nylon roller has a sleeve. The smooth roller, the sleeve is fixed to the rubber portion, to the rubber roller. And the bearings are already pressed in this one. You don't really want to press bearings out and press them back in. If you tried to press them both, they're in there very tight. And you could ruin them. You could break them if you tried pressing them out and then pressing them back into another one, into this sleeve. Okay. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and press the bearings into the sleeve. Okay, so first we have to press the bearings into the sleeve, and then we're going to put the puller onto the sleeve. Now, when you put the sleeve in here, it can only go one way. Okay, if you put it in this way, the sleeve is nice and flush with the ends of the puller. If you put it in the wrong way and then line up the screw holes, if it's in the wrong way, your sleeve will stick out a little too far. So that's how you know which way to put it in. So the sleeve will go in this way. Okay, your screw holes are lining up, all 3 screw holes line up. And we could actually put this sleeve on first. So I'm going to go ahead and screw on my sleeve, and then we'll go ahead and press the bearings in. Okay, our 3 screws. We attached the roller to the sleeve. Okay. Now when we put this puller back on, as you can see, there's this little edge here. This little offset edge, it comes in a little bit. That will have to go back on. If you're looking at the puller from behind the machine, it's going to go on that way. It has to go on the left side. So that's important, because that's the way we want them when we want to put the bearings in. We got 2 one-way bearings. So they are both going to have to pull the same way. So we want to make sure we're going to have the roller going this way. Roller has to go in this way, with that offset on the left side looking from behind. When we put this sleeve into the bearing, now I also call that other part of sleeve that we screwed on already, but you can call that the housing. We'll call that the housing, and we'll call this the sleeve. There's 2 sleeves on each side that will go into the bearings. Okay, and as you can see, it's a one-way bearing. If I turn it this way, it does not move the bearing. It'll go without moving the bearing. Then when I turn back, that's when the roller will be pulling. So you want it to not pull, to pull, to not pull, to pull. So you need both bearings going the same way. If you put them in opposite, it won't work. Okay, so this one, looking from the back, that's how we want it. It should pull. It's going to pull the fabric out the back. Pull. It's not pulling, it's ratcheting. It's pulling. It's not pulling, it's ratcheting. It's pulling. And we need the same thing on the other side. We stick it in here. Not pulling. This one's opposite. See, this one's ratcheting the opposite way, and then it's going to be pulling that way. So this one will be pulling one way, so that's the wrong way. We turn it around. Both have to be the same way. It's ratcheting back, and then it's pulling. Slipping through and pulling. So these one-way bearings, they both have to be set the same way. Okay, now there's a very easy way to tell. They have writing on it. One side has writing on it, and one side does not. So it will always be opposite. When you put them in, the side with the writing goes one way, and then the one on the opposite side will not have any writing on it. Okay, so we're going to go back to the press now and press these in. Okay, so I bring everything with me to the press. I have my roller with the sleeve attached. I have the bearings, or the housing attached, the roller with the housing attached. I have my bearings, and I have the sleeve that will be inserted into the bearing. And like I said, we want to set them. I'm working from behind the machine, so I want this to pull the fabric out So I just want to make sure, double check, make sure it's going the right way. Okay, this one's going the right way. So we're going to take that, put it on the press. We take the bearing with the sleeve, and the plate's attached too. You could leave the plate attached. That makes it easier to get it nice and straight. Right under the press. And we press it in. Okay. We pop the sleeve back out. We want to check again. Okay, it's ratcheting, it's loose, it's pulling. That's how we want it. We want it to pull out towards me. Pulling the fabric out towards the back. Okay, now the other side has to be the same way. So we want to check it. Just to make sure that's the correct way. Pulling. Okay, pulling out towards me. Also, like we said, this side would be opposite. If we got this side in right, that bearing has the little writings on it. Okay, the other side of the bearing don't have anything on it. So once you get the one side in and you know it's right, you could just make sure you have the other one without any writing on the other side. And the same way, insert your sleeve. Make sure again, no writing. Okay. Insert your sleeve. And we press it. Now if you don't have a press, if you only have a vise, it can be done on a vise, but it is a little harder. It will be a little harder to get them in because they're very tight, and you have to make sure that you use a piece of wood or something on each side so you don't mess up any of your parts. Okay. Okay, at this point we attached our puller to the housing. We pressed in our bearings. Now we're going to put it back on the bracket. We're going to put it back on your puller bracket. Okay, so the drive arm is on the left side, looking from behind again. Looking from behind. Drive arm goes on the left side. So we put the drive arm with the sleeve into the bearing. Okay, and then on the opposite side, we insert the sleeve into the bearing. Okay, we lay the roller here. Now you have to get your shaft. Make sure, all right, before we get started, you're going to have to loosen these two nuts. So we will have to loosen these two nuts. I believe they are 13mm nuts. Okay, so they have to be loose because when you put your shaft in, then you have to adjust this tension spring, how tight you want to get it. You'll have to use these nuts to adjust that. So we'll have to loosen them up. I'm going to need two 13mm wrenches. Okay, we're going to put the shaft in the vise. And we're going to break those two nuts loose. Okay, 13. It's spinning. Alright, very tight, but we broke them loose. Just unscrew them to the end of the shaft for now. Okay, now we can come back and insert the shaft. So first you got to make sure you need a washer. You got your two nuts, washer, and your bushing. This is your floating bushing. This bushing, this will move in and out of this other bushing. This is how you put your tension. This is the tension bushing. Okay, so we're going to slide the shaft in there, and first thing we're going to do is get our spring washer. Get your spring washer through first. Hold on, let me get the puller out of the way. So you get your spring washer through first, then you take your puller and you get it in there. Then you put your shaft all the way in. Make sure you're bushing. That's your floating bushing. That goes inside the brass bushing. Push it all the way in. We're out the other side. And you need a washer. And then you attach your snap ring. Okay. Okay. Then we have to find our little stop screw here. Screw goes into that plate, through the bracket, and into that plate. Okay, so we'll put our little stop screw in, line it up, and okay. We'll screw that in, we'll tighten it, but we will not lock it down yet. Remember, you have the screw on the back, screw in the front to lock that down. And now we'll just leave it. Okay. We're pretty much just about done now. Except here's your spring, here's your tension, your spring washer, or your tension. You want to be able, you want that tight. When we adjust, we're going to use these two nuts and bring them in. I guess I had them really screwed out a little more. Okay, we bring it in until basically it's very hard to move with your finger. You should be able to move it a little bit with your finger, but we'll tighten it up. Okay, now but before we do that, yes, we do have to set this. You want to set this stop screw here. Okay, so before we set our tension with these two nuts, before we set our tension on a spring, we want to set our stop screw here. We want a little gap. We don't want that plate pinned right up against our bracket. So you want a little space there. So you can take this little ruler, which is very common. Most people have this Kansai ruler here. Put it right in between. That's about a 1/2 millimeter. That's fine. You can put that ruler in and then tighten up your two screws. You lock in that. Okay. And from behind, that's a smaller Allen screw. Okay. So we lock down that screw. Okay. And now we tighten up our tension spring. Like I said, we want to come in. We want it to be, it should be hard. You want it to move just by your finger, but it needs to be very tight. Very tight, but you should be able to move it. We got in there. See how that feels. All right. I might want it a little tighter. I want to push on it with my finger. I can still move it. Probably needs to be just a little tighter. That's probably okay. I can move. Now that's a little tighter, and even if I could just move it a little bit, you want it a little tight. That might be. I'm moving it. Okay, that's probably good. It should be tight, but you should be able to move it with your finger. Now we got to lock these two down. That's why you need two 13mm open end wrenches. One of them needs to be a little narrow, a little thin. If it's too thick, you won't fit both wrenches on. This wrench is much thicker, so you need a thin one in order to get it in here. So you need one thin 13mm and one regular, and then we're just going to put opposite pressure, and we're going to lock these in. Okay. Lock those nuts in. Make sure it's ratcheting. Okay, good. Okay, and that's it. We changed rollers, rubber roller to nylon corrugated roller. Okay, now we're going to change the bottom roller. The bottom roller is much easier to change. The bottom roller, it's not driven by anything. It's just a floating roller. The top roller, this is the top. The top roller is driven. The bottom roller is just a floating roller. So that's much easier to change. You have to remove your cloth plate. So we'll remove the cloth plate. Remove our cloth plate, and we can change this roller from right while it's still on the machine. You loosen these two screws. Loosen the two screws, and then this collar here slides off. That collar slides off. And well, you will have to remove your cover too. Move your feed rocker out of the way, maybe. Okay. And our puller comes out. Take the shaft out. And here's our lower roller, which will match up with the top roller. Okay. See if we can get it back in there. You might have to take this other cover off, which you probably do. At this point, really, you could do, we'll take this other plate out of our way to make our life easier. 3 screws. Pretty tight. So we take our shield cover off. We can see it better. That'll make it easier. Now, when we put this back on, if you look at this shaft, on the end of the shaft, this collar here, this flat spot has to be facing in because it will hit the casting otherwise. So when you put this on, it goes that way, facing in. Okay, slide the roller on. This is easier now. Okay. Collar for the other end. You get this side started a little bit. Get that side started a little bit. Slide your collar on. Okay. and your bottom roller is changed. And just make sure it moves freely. This might be a little tight. If it feels a little tight, loosen your screws back up. And back that collar off just a little bit. Have a little room there. Make sure it's nice and free. Because that's just a floating puller. The top puller is driven. The bottom one just floats. So make sure it's nice and free. Tighten it back up. And you're all set. Okay. Reattach it. Okay, we come over here. I'll pull the shaft. You have to slide this into, this is your guide bar. This is a guide bar there. Because as the puller goes up and down, you have this guide bar. So you got to put this fork into the guide bar while you lift your shaft. Slide the puller under. Line your shaft up. Has a little mark on it. That's how far down you go with the shaft. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little groove in the shaft all the way around. Completely around that shaft there's a groove. So I tap the shaft until I just get that groove even with the top part of the bracket here. And we lock it down. Okay. And as you do this, as you keep tightening the bolts, just make sure your puller should go up and down nice and free. Okay, if it's not nice, this one's pretty good, but it's not super free. Probably this guide bar is probably not set perfectly, so if you loosen that, loosen your guide bar. There you go. I didn't loosen it all the way, I just loosened it enough so when I move this puller up and down, it automatically set it. It moved a little bit. And you see now, that's much better. Now it falls on its own. So you want that to be nice and free. Tighten it back up. Check it again. And we're nice and free. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that stays nice and free. Now I'm going to come back here and tighten your spot screw. Okay. This screw is on a flat spot. Okay. And I want to check it again. Still nice and free. And now we have to put our link back on. And after we put our link back on, again, we want it nice and free. Now, how does this link go on? Screw, washer. You need a washer on each. You need a washer on the left side of this drive lever. The drive lever is here. Screw, small washer. Your floating bushing, your collar, it's really a bushing. It's a floating bushing. Insert, goes inside that link. Okay. Screw with the washer on one side. And then you put the large washer on the other side. And you insert it into the drive lever. Then you take your nut. And you screw your nut on. Okay, and we're attached. Now your drive lever is slotted. That's one way you can get the puller to pull more or pull less, which we will discuss in probably in another video, how to set the speed of your puller. But there's a slot in there. If you move it up one way, it'll pull faster. If you put it the other way, it'll pull slower. So right now I'm just going to set it in the middle and tighten it up. And again, after we tighten it up, you want to make sure your puller is nice and free. Okay, and it drops on its own, nice and free. And that's good. You put your spring back on. And your bolt. And we're all finished. We changed the smooth roller to a nylon corrugated roller.